Okay, why are we here today for this lunch and learn? This session is all about content creation for the purpose of boosting your professional brand. So what kind of platforms are available? How do you do it? How do you figure it out? You all, if you're interested in books, blogs, podcasts, online courses, webinars, vlogs, all that, we've got the experts for you right here. LZ Flanar, they call him the mayor. He's the mayor of Podcast Town, to
They
be
do.
exact. He's your go-to. If some of y'all want to have a podcast, I know, don't be shy. I know you want to have a podcast, and it's fine, and he'll help you. He'll help you figure out how to do it. We're gonna ask him a bunch of questions about it. Now, Talaya Scott, she's all about getting into your finances. Like, are you spending too much money? Like, what are you doing? Cut that credit card up. She's that person, but she also has she does it in a nice way. She has a book for you. Okay, she has an online course for you. It's all of these things available to us as people, but they also help us understand her business, what she's passionate about, what she's good at, and gives her access. And some of you want to do an online course or you want to write a book, and she's going to tell you all the secrets and help you not make the mistakes. So just tune right in. We have Megan Schultz and Shelly Roeder from Cream City Dreams podcast. They interviewed me one time, and that's how I know about the podcast. Then I started listening to all the other interviews, and they interview people who love Milwaukee, care about Milwaukee, make a difference in Milwaukee. And I was thinking about this event, and I had a dream that they were on this podcast. That's literally what made me remember to reach out to them. I was like, that would be cool to have them. So they're going to tell us all about this friendship of theirs and how a podcast was created out of their connection, love for each other, and love for Milwaukee. So with that, here are your panelists. Say hi to the panelists. I see you in the chat.
Hey,
Say hi to the
hey,
panelists.
y'all. Hey, everybody.
Hey everybody. So listen, if you're in the chat, if you're online with us, remember that when you go to the chat, we'll only be able to see what you said if you send it to everyone. So change the default. Make sure you change it so we can see not just the hosts and the panelists. Change it to everyone so all the other fuelers can see what you're thinking and what your questions are. You got it? I think you guys got it. I see you responding. Okay, so let's start this way. Talaya, I'm going to start with you,
Okay.
and this will be the same question for everybody. Just help the group understand what it is that you do, and what kind of content creation you're doing right now, and how you think it's like elevated what you actually do.
Okay. And how long do we have? Because I don't want to overtalk.
Just like, let's just do like a quick 2-minute roundabout, and then we'll come
Okay.
back and get some of the juicy details.
Absolutely. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Talaya Scott. And I own Fit Perspective LLC. Now, Fit Perspective is a financial education firm rooted in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We focus on financial freedom through financial education. By trade, I am an accountant. I teach accounting full-time at Milwaukee Area Technical College, and I teach accounting and personal financial education to small business owners and adults. I am super passionate about what I do. I am so passionate that I just started my doctoral program to study behavioral finance and the connection between financial education and positive financial behaviors. Because just because you know better don't mean you do better. And in your finances, that's a problem. So what's the disconnect, right? So I just figured out my problem statement and my research question, and I'm diving into the data to help people even more with their finances. I have a book. My book is called So I Graduated, Now What Do I Do? It's in the store near you, literally. It's on my website. It's at barnesandnoble.com. You can find it on amazon.com. Super excited about my read. It was created in 2019. It's 2024, and I'm feeling like God telling me a new book, maybe after the doctorate program. We'll see, but it's a good read. And then I also have financial education courses. So I have the personal finance course, and I have a QuickBooks online training course for small business owners. And so I just use my website and my training platforms and social media and photographers and videographers and all of the furs.
The second book could be, so I graduated again, how I'm gonna pay these student loans.
Well, I actually have the title for the second book, but I
Okay.
can't release that. You know,
Okay.
I'll pray on it, all that good stuff.
All right. All right, Elsie, I'm gonna come to you next. Same deal. Kind of tell us what you do. I mean, you literally are helping other people do what we're talking about today, so you can answer it whatever way makes the most sense for you.
Yeah, first, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to whenever I get an opportunity to talk in front of people, because that's kind of what I do, talk in front of people. So I am a full-time podcaster, I suppose. I have a couple of shows that I host, but the one that I'm doing most of the work with right now is called Journey to Mastery. And it's really about the intersection of mastery across disciplines, because whether you're an athlete, a professional, a podcaster, or whatever you are, there are things and ways that you go about it to master that craft. And so that's what the show is about, is really exploring that and figuring out the commonalities and the threads in that. In my spare time, I run Podcast Town, which is a full service agency that helps people launch their podcast and monetize their podcast. That's been around technically since 2016, but we rebranded in 2019 to Podcast Town because I am a podcast head. I love it. I love the medium. I love the power behind the media and the way that it connects people. So that's what I do. I literally live, eat, breathe, sleep podcasting. That's all I do.
How many people in the room, and you can put it in the chat, are interested in having a podcast? Just leave us a little note in the chat, and maybe if you feel comfortable sharing, what would it be about? What would it be about? Okay, so Megan and Shelly, however you want to answer this together. I guess for you, it'd be like, what do you do outside of the work that you are doing together? And then how did you find yourself in this Cream City podcast together?
Shelly, you want to start, or shall I start?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm Shelly Roeder, and I am a coach. I went to the UW-Madison coaching program a few years ago and have my own business coaching. And I use those coaching skills actually at a nonprofit called the Alma Center here in Milwaukee that works with offenders of domestic violence to transform some of the trauma they've experienced. So I am all about people getting in touch with who they really want to be in this world, and helping people understand and navigate the obstacles in the way of getting there. And Megan and I met on a baseball field because we both have children who play baseball, and got to know each other and started doing e-courses together. And then that led into the podcast. Megan, do you want to pick it up there?
Yeah, I think Shelly's work as a coach, and I on the side also do writing circles with women and retreats for women. And so just have this love of connecting women and bringing women together. And so it sort of made sense for Shelly and I to think about a podcast that revolved around women. And so ours is interviewing, it's called Cream City Dreams, and we interview Milwaukee women who we see as living the dream, Corey Joe among them. And we talk about how they got to where they are and how they decided to get into that, who supported them along the way. And I think the idea behind the podcast was not only to highlight these women who are incredible. If you look at our website and our lineup, you can see some of these powerhouse women we've talked to. So not only to highlight their story, but to talk about how they did it so that we can show other people that it's actually not that hard to do, to live your dream. I think people think that dreams are something for other people, like other people can do really cool things like write a book Taleo, or be the mayor of a podcast town, LZ, right? Those are things that other people with more chutzpah can do. But like what we've found in interviewing these people is that it just takes like the next step. You just have to, like, even if that means just Googling or finding the next tutorial to tell you how to do the next thing you need to do, right? That's what we've been finding. So we hope that our podcast inspires other people in Milwaukee to see that they can do it too. So
What was it about podcasting? Do you just enjoy having the conversations and thought this was the best medium to do it? Like what, as opposed to, I don't know, events or blogging or like whatever you could have done. Like, how did you land there?
I think honestly, it was wanting to see how we could reach the most people. And we're working on building our numbers, right? We're still in the infancy stage of getting our brand and our podcast out. But it felt like rather than a one-off event that if you missed it, you missed it. This is something that lives on in posterity. People, a lot of times what we're finding is people will hear one of our episodes because somebody maybe forwarded it to them, or they know, or this is small Milwaukee, so everybody's 2 degrees away from people. But then they go back and they can see, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna go back and listen to all the ones you've done. And so that's how people find us. So yeah, I think it was wanting to get these stories out because they're just incredible. People in this city are doing incredible things. So
okay, so Talea, you have now the online course. Is it available yet? Or
Yep, it's available. You can feel free to bring it up so everyone can see it. So the online course is stemmed from the book. So you can technically show the book first. So I got into financial management and personal finances because I was a product of my environment. Okay. And what do I mean by that? I grew up in the city of Milwaukee. I went to Milwaukee Public Schools, and Milwaukee Public Schools didn't teach financial literacy. Therefore, Talea was ignorant when it came to finances. And so I experienced all of these financial losses. Like I went through bankruptcy. I took out payday loans. I had, over leveraged credit cards. I had I had to surrender my vehicle. So it was a voluntary repossession. I had to short sell my home. Like there is not a financial failure that I haven't gone through that I can't talk about through experience and through education to teach people how to manage their finances successfully. And so when I wrote that book, I had quit my job because I was working at Ernst & Young accounting firm. And from the book stemmed the course. So my flagship, like bread and butter, my baby course is my Fit Money Masterclass. And you can bring that up, Corey. The Fit Money Masterclass teaches 5 lessons. Is what is money, managing money the fit way, credit management, saving to invest, and then borrowing basics. And those 5 skills help people understand how to manage your money successfully. I also have recently launched my QuickBooks training course. Okay. And my QuickBooks training course is because I would find myself helping small business owners out with their finances. And I tell them, you guys, you need to have QuickBooks. And they're like, okay, well, I have QuickBooks, and they're using QuickBooks, but they weren't formally trained on QuickBooks. So then I go into their finances and they're trash. They're all over the place. Financial statements not making sense at all. And then I asked them if they have an accountant, and they're like, well, no, I don't have an accountant. And so I'm like, okay, I've been doing these trainings, so let me create a QuickBooks training course. And so that's how the other one came about. So go to the main page, Corey, the original link I had you at. And then you can bring up the QuickBooks really quick. And so I had to learn all of this on my own, right? I didn't know. So when I wrote the book, I knew nothing about writing a book. God said, write a book. And I'm like, oh, where do I start, right? So I learned through the process. It was literally trial and error. I learned that self-publishing is cool, but it depends on the route that you want to go. I didn't want to self-publish because I plan on being global. one day. And so self-publishing wasn't going to get me there. I needed an actual publisher to publish my book so that it can be in all markets. So right now it's on my website. It's also on Amazon.com. It's also on Barnes and Noble.
So wait, let's back up.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, if you choose not to because that's a viable option. Some people will self-publish and it'll fit for what they're trying to do. But if you're not, like my first thought would be like, do you have to get a agent to find a publisher? Like, how do you even go about?
Well, so you have to submit your manuscript. So there's all type of publishers out there, are official but publishing businesses that can help push your book, and then you can self-publish. But if you self-publish, you really just gonna be on Amazon, right? Or you're gonna go to the distributor, and that distributor is just going to print however many books you want, and then you're gonna be working your book. You're gonna be going, becoming a vendor everywhere trying to sell your books, right? You're gonna be asking small businesses, can I sell my book in your store? That type of footwork. Whereas a publisher will house your book. They'll always print your book for you, but they make sure that it's available in other areas. So you want to make sure that you're in the Ingram Book Network. Now, I don't know if you self-publish, you get in the Ingram Book Network. But when you're with a publisher, I know for a fact that you do. And fun fact, one of my friends that I work with at the accounting firm, EY, he is now the controller. No, I think he's a VP of finance now for the Ingram Book Network. So I was like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. But anyway, so when you're with Ingram Book Network, somebody in Africa can see me and go to that store and use my ISBN and get my book. Or that store can order it. And so because I got big dreams, no matter how long the time take me, is God's timetable, not mine. I know that I have positioned myself where I will be able to go global. I'm not trying to figure out how to go global. I'm just waiting for it to happen.
So when you had the idea, the manuscript, you wrote the book.
I wrote the book in Word.
You wrote the book in Word. Was that intimidating? Like, did you have an outline? Like, how did you go about it?
No, it was intimidating because first of all, I'm a numbers person, hence the accounting part. Well, I couldn't get over a C in writing and grammar. Okay. And because I'm a hard worker, I got to be minus because the teachers like me, right? So I was super intimidated, never been a good writer. I can't tell you where the comma go versus the semicolon to this day. And now I'm in a doctoral program still learning how to write, right? So don't be intimidated by your weaknesses because you can still get the job done if that's what you were called to do, for anybody who was out there that don't think that they're enough, okay? So I literally just sat down and started writing. I got 80 pages in and quit the whole thing for like 4 months. And God was like, go back and do what I told you to do. And so what I did was, just for y'all out there, and I'm gonna try to be quick because we all got to talk. But what I did was I made a post on Facebook and said, I need professionals in these industries. And I said taxes, credit management, insurance, real estate agents, all of these people. And I interview each and every one of them. So I took my own financial knowledge for what I did, and then I interviewed each and every one of them, and I compiled that information. And then the outline technically came from a sermon. I was watching because if anybody know me, they know that me and God are one in one, right? I talk about God all the time because he's just so amazing. And I was watching the sermon on my couch, and the preacher laid out the outline of my book, and it blew my mind. And I did it that exact way. And I interviewed the people, and it literally just all came together. And then I had it, and I'm like, okay, what do I do next? And then I had to research. I found a publisher, and my publisher is Covenant Books. Covenant is a Christian book company, so they don't publish anything. So you talking about guns and drugs, or you talk about some stuff that goes against their Christian principles, they probably won't publish you. But it was an interview process. I had to send them my manuscript. They had to read it and say yay or nay. And then the process just went on from there.
That's awesome. LZ, when people I know podcasts are different, but it's something similar about like the distribution and where people go to find them, and like, where are you gonna self-produce it, or are you gonna go to Podcast Town? Like, when you're working with people, what when they come to you, do they already have the idea like fleshed out? What are the beginnings of those conversations that you have with people?
It's all over the place to be honest. Some people just know that they have a story, they have a message, they have something that they want to share with the world, and they want to get it out there. Some people, they know exactly who they want to talk to, what they want to say. They just don't know the technical sides of it. So I've seen the both ends of the spectrum. But what I will say is that the common theme and thread is when people are have a passion, they have a really strong why. Like Talia, for example, like there's a why behind her business. She's not just an accountant, right? There's a mission and a passion behind it. And so that's usually the common thread. It's like they have a passion, they have a mission, and they want to leverage this platform to get it out there.
So when they come to you, like I say, I love the mastery concept, because what I like about it, and sometimes the thing that I think stops me from doing certain topics or podcasts is like, okay, if I do 5 of these and I'm gonna run out of people to talk to. But the way that you approach it, there's mastery, that's a topic that you're passionate about, but you can find that in so many different kinds of people and different kinds of industry. Like you could just go on and on and on and on. So how did you land there? How do you plan it out, map it out? And do you help other people do that if they haven't gotten to that point yet?
Yeah, so selfishly, Corey Joe, I I love to learn. I love to pick apart people's perspective and the way they see things and glean from it. And so mastery is it's a journey. You never arrive at it, which is the thing that's appealing, right? It's like no matter how good you get at something, you still can get better. And that's the thing that, you know, I'm talking to other entrepreneurs about. I'm talking to thought leaders about. I'm picking and really bringing open how do they think about what they think about? How do they approach you know, hard financial times, or when they go through a divorce, and how do you still go through that and still show up to work the next day? Because the world doesn't stop just because you go through stuff. So how do you mentally prepare and set your mindset to be strong and to continue through things like that? How do you start again when a business fails, right? How do you get past the embarrassment and all the stuff that comes along with it? And so for me, that's where my passion is I love helping share that with other people, because lived experience is one thing, but when you can glean from the wisdom of others, the experiences of others, you know, now you can begin to really exponentially grow, right? And that's what I'm all about, is about growth. And so part of my job, right, as a producer and as a coach and a consultant, is to help unlock those areas. You know, some people are really great with self-awareness. Some people not so much, right? And to be self-aware and to master self are sort of two different levels, right? You can be aware that you're always late, but how do you master always being late, right? So part of my job is to uncover and unpack those areas that need to be explored, and to handle all the technical stuff that people hate to do, and do it in a way that is efficient, effective, and hopefully profitable.
So Shelly and Megan, how do you produce your podcast? Are you doing it yourself, or are you working with somebody for all the technical pieces?
DIY, baby.
This is
Yeah.
my closet,
Okay.
my studio.
So
Yeah.
did you teach yourself? Like, tell us how do you manage?
Yeah. Well, I think it was during the pandemic, wanted to just get stuff out there for my friends. Honestly, this was pre-podcast. And I had a friend who was a professor at the time at UWM who taught a podcasting class. And so I was like, what should I do? What software? And he recommended a software called Hindenburg. So I bought it and I just fiddled around with it. And, you know, in 2020, I had all the time in the world to do that. But yeah, and then it was one tutorial after another. We kind of we just Googled, how do we put a podcast in the air? Where does it go? And we found the hosts that we Googled a few hosts and settled on Buzzsprout. This is the kind of thing that Elsie would be excellent to, give all the options for. I'm sure that's what you do, Elsie, but we were just Googling it and just sort of landed on that, and you click a couple buttons and then Buzzsprout sends it to Google and sends it to Apple. And it's one of those things that, again, like I was saying before, it's not actually that hard. You just have to sit down and figure it out.
It's the time of and that's what Elsie does. He shortens their time.
Yes,
because
yeah,
Yes.
totally.
he knows all
We definitely could have used Elsie.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, so let me shift gears just a little bit. When you kind of put your content out in the world, I'm sure there was an intention that, more people would see whatever the thing is that you're passionate about, or it would make more people aware of your passions or your topics and that. What did it actually do? Once the book was published and once the podcast hit the airwaves, once the online courses started registering students, what did you see happen in your life or career? And Talea, you raised that eyebrow, so we'll start with you. What did it actually? Did it meet your expectations? Was it harder than you thought?
Girl,
Like, what did it do?
It ain't do nothing.
It did.
Okay. And I'm gonna be honest because people gotta understand. Look, I am real. Okay. It didn't do a thing. You have to continue to work that thing and you have to be consistent in everything that you do. So you're welcome. She said, I appreciate the honesty. What I learned is that you have to cross brand. And so everything needs to look the same. So if you notice, all of my stuff have like a certain color blue and white in it because blue is calming, blue is trusting, right? So I was intentional on my brand color. And then when I have my courses and when I teach my courses, all of my background looks the same. So my consistency. So if you go to my LinkedIn, to my Facebook, to my IG, I have the exact same photo, right? I got the exact same background. And consistency in how you look, no matter where you go, people will start recognizing you.
Mhm.
So now I'm out in the city and they be like, oh, I don't remember your name, but you do something fit, right? Or cause you be the money chick, right? And so I know that it's working. Now, as far as marketing is like accounting. It's hard to find somebody who's for real. Like I need a real accountant that can help me with my finances, not someone who doing this on the side because they need money. I need a real marketer. And unfortunately, it's so saturated that it's hard to find somebody that actually know what they're doing so you can get the good results. So that's been my issue. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to do this myself. Right. So I have Later. And if you don't know what Later is a social media management. You schedule all your posts. You literally can schedule your posts for the next 6 months, the next year. And I have my posts set on my business accounts, but my personal following is bigger than my business following. So I schedule my posts for my business pages, and then I have an alarm. And when that alarm go off, I go in and copy and paste them to all of my personal pages. And because I have that, that analytics, I pay for premium on LinkedIn because I'm, first of all, on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on IG, right? You have to determine what's best for you. YouTube isn't good for me right now. TikTok, I'm too old. I'll be 40 next month. And I just don't have the time to play around with all of the stuff because I got to go to school. I'm trying to do research to figure out how to help y'all more, right? And so because of that, it's like, what works best for me? Initially, I was doing one-on-ones with small businesses. I found that wasn't effective. In my industry, one-on-one isn't good. I need to do group trainings. And so what I didn't say is I'm also a public speaker. So I get hired to speak, and I have a lot of speaking engagements. I have a lot of corporate trainings. I have a lot of university trainings. And so business accelerators like Spark, right? Or like Fuel, like this. I'll come on, do a training, a mass training. Everybody will receive the information. And then I get paid. And that way I don't have to hound the individual. And so that way is a better working model. So because of that, I know I'm on LinkedIn because I need UW to see me or
Like
Concordia.
say if you're going for a speaking engagement, like does the fact that you have a book or online course, does it
It
validate
gives
like
you, absolutely, it
credibility?
validates you. So I'm an accountant and I teach accounting in real life. Like I got 150 students, 6 classes, right? But that's what I do professionally. But I use my professional job as a launching board for everything I do fit perspective. So my book is just additional credibility. My online course is just additional credibility. I have a QuickBooks project right now as a capstone for my students who are about to graduate. Well, I also have a QuickBooks course in my business that any small business can. So all of my content builds credibility in who you are. So if you go to my LinkedIn and you look at, you know, my digital resume is what I like to call LinkedIn, you're gonna see like, oh, this person do this for real. Another thing that I notice is that you have to make sure that your Google presence is for real. So if you Google Talia Scott, you're going to see all of the articles that I did or interviews that I did. My business is going to come up on Google. If you Google Fit Perspective, you're going to see that. You're going to see the location. Google has a pin on where it's at, right? Your presence needs to be there if somebody Googles you. So it's not that I have a great marketing plan because I haven't been able to find a real expert, but I know what I do is consistent where if I check my analytics, it's called, and word of mouth, okay, people know me. Like I don't know these strangers and people say, don't you do? So I know that it gives me validation. Like, okay, let me keep going until I run into the right expert that can give me
But
a
it's
for
not
real,
like a one shot, you like, it's just a
right.
layer. It like,
Yeah, it's
well,
layers. It's
yeah.
layers. So to answer your question initially, the book didn't do nothing. The course didn't do nothing. It's the layers in the build. You got to embrace the journey and keep going.
LZ, on the podcast town site, when I was kind of scrolling through, a lot of the language on there is like, you have people that are there as individuals, but also businesses that are using the podcast to like increase sales and like, how do they come in there with that intention, and how are they using the podcast? Like once it's produced, how can a podcast help someone get more, like develop more business or like increase the number of sales? Like how does that, what do they do with it?
Yeah, I'll answer that by backing up a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, Podcasting is about relationship. And anybody that's in business will tell you that the number one thing that's important in business is relationship. And so what we do is we help harness that, right? We help you figure out, okay, who are the people who we want to build relationships with, and this isn't one sided. This is who can we help? What value can we add to them? What does that look like, sound like, feel like, and how do we wrap that into a brand so that by the time they come to us with a need, it's no question who they're going to go to, right? So for us, it's about building community, building brand awareness, building that intention before you even ask for anything. It's like giving so much value that you're like, okay, Elsie, please take my money. You've given me so much value over so long that I want to support you on what you're doing, and so that's our approach. We're not the agency or the company that will, definitely get you on Apple Podcasts. Number one, that's a part of it, right? If you do all the foundational stuff well, but our thing is how do we build a community around your brand, the brand being the podcast, that is so impactful, so effective that there's no question that they're going to do business with you, right? And so for me, that is the number one reason I do what I do, is because I love building relationships and I love adding value and I love helping people do the same with their brand. So to Leia's point, if you'll notice, my mic pop filter is red. I'm wearing a Podcast Town branded shirt, polo. I'm like, all that's intentional. In my meetings, I wear my headphones. Why? Because I want people to know I'm the podcast dude. I'm the mayor of podcasting. Like everything I do, my language, how I show up, everything is on brand and consistent to Leia's point. So I think even as a professional, when you think about how do I stand out? How do I build relationships? How do I learn from people who I want to glean from? A podcast is a great way to do that. Whether you do it to monetize it or not, just being able to identify the people in your network that can get you from here to where you want to go, and how to ask the right questions that both give the audience value, add to the profile of the person that you're interviewing, and give you and help you build that relationship and elevate your brand. It's a win-win for everybody. And so from a strategic perspective, I think being able to have those strategic conversations is always a plus.
I love what you said, because I think a lot of people think about podcasting and think like, man, you got to get sponsors and but it's not that. The purpose of it is not always about turning it into a monetized business, but there are other relationship and business benefits from being able to have those structured conversations. And to your point, Megan and Shelley, like having a library of those conversations and being able to share them and build community through those conversations. It was Cream City Podcast, was the intention to build community? Was the intention to monetize? And did it once it was out in the world, did it do what you wanted it to do?
It's a great question. And I love, Tilly, I love your response of like, it doesn't go anywhere. Like, we are really lucky to have dedicated listeners. And for the first like 5 episodes, that was our moms, and then people started swearing too much. So my mom dropped off even, right? So like, I think the question's really, really important because I know that for us, it feels really joyful, even when we don't get the download numbers that we want to get, because we're having incredible conversations with people who I want to take to lunch, right? Like I want to go to lunch with these people. Corey Joe included, episode 30, guys, go listen. She's awesome. And I get to have these great conversations that are connecting. I get to meet people in this awesome city of mine who I know the backstory of the business they've started or the reason they do the work that they do and where that came from and the dream that they had about that when they were 8. Like I just love that kind of connection and living in my community, knowing the people in my neighborhood, right? And so I think that's a really important part to this question about personal brand. To me, personal brand is about like, who am I as a person? What are my values? What brings me joy? What kind of legacy do I want to leave when I leave here, when I leave this planet, and yes, because we live in the United States in 2024, that's called a brand and you can monetize it, right? But more important than that is get in touch with who you are, what's important to you, and then whether or not you make money on it, right? You're gonna be fed. And so we're getting to the point where we're trying to monetize it just because, mama's got bills she needs to pay. But
let's be honest, it does cost to
costs
have a
money to do
podcast.
it.
There,
right.
behind the scenes to keep the lights on, there are costs. And we've been lucky enough. We've some of you people might have heard of the buy me a coffee thing that you can put on your website and people can buy, just like throw you $5 here and there, which has been great. And we've had some Uber listener fans that are throwing us some money, so that helps. But yeah, I mean, it is it's for us, it's been a labor of love to start, and also the connection building between guests. So I was gonna say the guests that we've been able to connect to each other that didn't know each other that really should know each other, and I think that has been a key reason for us doing this as well. But I was also going to propose to follow on from what Elsie was saying in terms of participants, also just being a guest on a podcast is a really cool thing to do. So I mean, there might be people who want to start their own podcast, but there are podcasts out there that are always looking for guests, and it is a win-win, like Elsie said, that we want to keep the podcast going, keep the podcast alive, and you want to promote what you do. And most of the time podcast hosts want to make you look good. So it really is, it behooves people to reach out and say, hey, I'd like to be a guest. Can I put myself forward? And you never know, all you can do is ask.
If I could just add one quick thing, Corjo.
Yeah.
The other thing to consider is that as you think about monetization, and I'm doing air quotes, is that it's not always financial. When I started my show, I started it because I was working my day job and my side hustles for the better part of 13 years, and it literally almost killed me. And I could not figure out how to make that next jump. And so that's why I started my podcast, is because I wanted to learn from business people directly, and it works. I would ask them the questions. I would say, hey, Mrs. Business Owner, when you were in corporate, what's the first thing you did to make that transition? And it literally, it changed my life, because it allowed me to have a plan to quit my day job and do my own thing. But that could be if you want to elevate from first line leader to VP. Maybe you start a podcast where you're interviewing VPs and you're asking them questions about how did you set up your career up for success, et cetera. So it's not always necessarily directly monetizing with dollars. It could also be in promotions at work, or the next level in your career.
That's such a good point.
Can I add to what Elsie is talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that? Because monetization for me is my network. And you are a replica of the 5 closest people that you hang around. So if my aim is to be a millionaire, I need to know people who are millionaires, and I need to tap into those circles, right? So I always want to be the least experienced person in the room. And so what me and my friends just initiated was an entrepreneurial mastermind. And so we're building out this framework of how friends can come together as 5 of us, and how we can hold each other accountable, share our resources, share our networks to propel everybody to the next level. Because I'm in accounting, but one of my friends is in high level leadership. Another friend is already a doctor. And so she have access to other doctors or universities if I want to be a university professor and not like a technical college professor, right? So is the closest people feeding you in a way that you need to be fed in order to move forward? If not, then you need to reevaluate and change up your circle. And don't be afraid to make new friends like little kids. You want to be my friend?
That's true. I think sometimes I talk about like the cool thing about having a job, like the kind of job Sophia and I have, is I get to put people in front of other people and think about what those connections look like, and who should know each other, and when to do it, the time, the place, like everything about Milwaukee, it just like all comes into alignment. And I'm not a shy person naturally, but I'm way less shy now because of the kind of job that I have, and that I've been able to, like, I have a reason to always be like connecting people. And some people don't have jobs where they feel like they can do that, or it's not part of their job. But what a great way, like producing content and putting something out in the world, it like gives you a reason, or like the excuse to really talk to whoever you want to. So I think like that monetization, like Elsie, I think that's so beneficial. Like look at it in a different way. It doesn't always have to be about a financial sponsorship, but there are so many other benefits that come from the effort you put forth to put content out there. Sophie has quite a few questions. And so in our last 10 minutes, Sophie, you take over, and just whatever questions you have, let's put them forward to the panel.
Really quick, I wanted to thank you all for joining us today. What a valuable panel this has been, and I really appreciate the message you've all given. It's really inspirational. And as someone who's just starting out, like building out my passion projects and my side gigs, as everyone kind of needs now, I was wondering, when the appropriate time to like start sharing it on LinkedIn and with your networks is. Like, I'm just getting down the basics of everything, like just building out the websites. I don't want my job to think that I'm leaving them. And like, I don't want them to think that my side gigs are going to take over my everyday life or anything like that. And have you previously balanced like a corporate job with your side gig, and what's the appropriate amount of content to be putting out about your side gig versus your corporate job?
I can speak to that really quickly. It's simple. I found an organization that doesn't mind and is not intimidated about what I do. When I had an interview with MATC to become a full-time accounting professor there, I told them I have Fit Perspective. It's a financial education firm, and this is what I do. And how does that look? And they were like, "Oh no, we encourage our instructors to have other things going on. A lot of our instructors work at other schools. A lot of them do this." And so I believe that if you're getting a new job, if you're currently there, have that conversation. So now my dean, who's over the whole accounting department, is liking my post, sharing it. Talea's amazing, right? And I feel like I have that support that I don't have to worry about being at my school. And whenever it's my time to leave, then that's, the next step that God called me to make. But I know that while I'm here, I can make so much money in my business and still have my salary, and people are not, offended by that.
Okay, very good. And then my other thing is dealing with imposter syndrome. Like when you're just starting out, I feel like I am learning from everyone. I don't know anything. I'm coming into it with a fresh mind. How do I deal with imposter syndrome? Like if I'm telling people how to connect with other people, how do you like deal with that? Anybody?
I can only speak to how I deal with it, because I still have it, right? And there's levels to it. Once you get to a certain level, then there's the next level. I am a naturally curious person, and I am authentic. When I don't know, just say I don't know. People gravitate to authenticity. You don't have to pretend to be anything other than who you are. None of us have it all figured out. I can guarantee you that 100%, right? We're all figuring it out. We've never been here before. To me, you just be who you are, be curious, learn. When you don't know, say you don't know. When you do know, say you do know, and just continue to guide people as you are guided. You're never going to know or be 100%. It's just like it's always help the people who are just behind you and learn from the people who are just in front of you, and just repeat.
That's great. I know we have some questions from the
Oh,
audience, so
okay. I was
let's
gonna
get.
add
Oh,
I was gonna
you
add
can go ahead, Talia.
Okay, so imposter syndrome. Somebody wrote in the comments, I feel like we continue to have it, we just get more resilient. There's actually nothing wrong with imposter syndrome, because like I said, I walk with God really closely, and what I learned is that the thing that you struggle with the most, or the thing that you're going through, or your biggest hurdle, is typically what you're called to help other people with once you've accomplished it. So my biggest failure was financial management, right? I explained to everybody all of the things that I experienced. But once I figured it out, I didn't have this passion to help other people. Like, no, it's not that hard. No, it isn't. You just need a little bit of this, or no, all of the resources you need is right here, right? And creating an easier path for the next individual. But I still get imposter syndrome because I know where I came from. So it's like, how I'm going to tell somebody to do X, Y, Z, and I had all of these failures. But that speaks to Elsie's point. If you're authentic, and if you're transparent, and if you're honest with your audience, then I'm not where you are anymore, but I'm not where I want to be. But I can still pay it forward, reach back and say, no, that's wrong. That's where I messed up. Right. While I'm going to my million, and then you might get to 200,000, and we all good. And everybody in this, this forward movement to become better. That's it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I know Tim had a question for you in the chat, Talea. Let me pull that up. For a 9 to 5er, what's the opportunity to use the social brand to increase vertical opportunities?
Honestly, the way I've been able to do it is organizations. Like I knew Corey outside of Fuel Milwaukee and everything. I actually not even a member of MMAC and Fuel Milwaukee yet. I told Corey I need to do my membership and was talking to her about how do I get involved.
This
But
is how I peer pressure you into doing it.
right. But because I knew Corey outside of that, always share what you do. You meet new people, you knew people of people. What do you do? Because you will be surprised at how many people remember what you do. And so what I decided was, okay, the biggest piece is not social media, it's your network. So I started going to mixers and going to different organizations. So right now I think I'm part of NABA, which is National Association for Black Accountants. I go to things with business accelerator programs, the African American Network, professional dimensions. Like I put myself in rooms and I talk to people. So that's how you're going to get your vertical movement. Because you think about it, they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. Once you get to where you want to be, then it's what you know, right? You can sustain yourself based on your knowledge once you get there. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be somebody who helped put you in that position. And so that's how I would use my vertical movement along with social media. So when people meet me, they're going to go to my LinkedIn right away. They always do. And they follow me right away. Right. And so you want to make sure your platforms are solid. So as you're networking and meeting people, that connection is going to be made and they're going to remember you. At least that's how I do it for me. I don't even know if that's the right way, but that's how it's been working for me.
Perfect. And then one more question from the Q&A box is about securing corporate engagements. Can you speak to that a little bit? I don't know if Megan and Shelly have bumped into that yet as far as working.
Like are all of you speakers outside of your content platforms?
I am, yeah.
And how do you go about securing those engagements?
So again, a lot of the engagements came from my network. I've done some podcast interviews. I've helped people, right? And so the small business owners that I've helped or the professionals that I help in their personal finances, they work places, right? So if you're an awesome person, you have an amazing personality, you're likable, you're friendly, people are going to call you to do certain things. Like for instance, the Business Accelerator program, I teach the I teach the accounting piece for them. And so the business, the person that's over the Business Accelerator was like, I have a friend and she does Women Entrepreneurship Week and she needs speakers. And I gave her your name and then I'm speaking here. And then I did a training for direct supply and all of these people are on the virtual. And then someone reached out and said, I'm doing a lunch and learn with Marquette University and we need a keynote speaker. Can you be that person who does the training for the students during that hour and a half time? Right. And so it's just all, again, going back to making those connections, because it's not like I'm reaching out cold calling people, hey, you need a speaker? Hey, you need a speaker? No. But over time, my public speaking has evolved. And now I'm in a public speaking training because it's organic initially, but now I'm putting myself in a position like, okay, I want to be a real speaker, not a good one. I want to be a great one. So now I just signed up with a National Speakers Association, which is a national organization, and they have Milwaukee chapter. And so they got speakers way better than me, right? So how do I get greater at speaking? What do I do? And so you put yourself in those places and those people that are out of our state. And then you start to be regional and then national. And so it's really been working for me that way.
Well, we're right at 1 o'clock, so I know some people have to jump off. That's for participants and panelists. But Elsie, if you could answer that question as a speaker, and then I'm wondering from the Cream City podcast crew, like, are people approaching you to be on the podcast, or do you always have to find them? I'm curious about that too. But Elsie first, and then we'll talk to Megan and Shelley.
My answer will be quick. My main job as the mayor of Podcast Town is to shake hands and kiss babies. right? Going back to everything that Talia just said, meeting people, serving people, being helpful, adding value, and those relationships, they come from that. And then to the question about podcast guests, when I first started, I reached out to my barber when I had hair, my realtor. But as I grew, as the brand grew, then people would start to contact us, and PR firms would start to send people. So yeah, shake hands, kiss babies, meet people, add value, and great things happen.
Yeah, I would echo that. Like generosity is such a great way to be in the world, and people respond to generosity. So we definitely ask people. That's where we started, and then the second season we started asking our guests who did they recommend, which is a really fun way to get new guests by learning from our guests who they see as dreamy women or women living their dreams in Milwaukee. So that's a couple ways. And then we have other like listeners have reached out or people have reached out on behalf of friends or people that they work with. And so, yeah, we're starting to reach people, I would say, in terms of getting people to send us folks, which is great. Yeah.
I could totally see both of you doing the Women's Entrepreneurship Week. Like I can think of a bunch of different opportunities where I think you all would make great speakers and people would be excited to hear your story, and like you're really.
That's why you're dreamy, Corey Joe. That's
Yeah.
why you're so dreamy.
I'm gonna, you know what? Talia said that I think she would be perfect as a
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
We can make that happen.
And I'm thinking of a organization we had on the show, Secure Futures, that I wonder if you know about. And
Oh yeah, that's why I started with Secure Futures. When I started teaching, before I even started working at MATC, I started volunteering with them. So they were the first.
awesome.
Yeah, so I love them.
Yeah. And there you go.
Relationships, right? It's like
Yeah.
what you said.
And
everything is
generosity,
relationship.
right? Like volunteering one
generosity.
place led to creating expertise in another. And yeah, it's so cool.
Listen, I'm so grateful for your generosity and sharing as much as you did. I mean, because part of this, and there was one question in there where somebody's like, I'm not really sure where, like I've made my outline and I've started the channel and I got the content and I'm not really sure where to start. What would you say? Just start, right? Just start.
Mm-hmm. Big lesson from our dreamers is just start before you're ready. Just say yes, just do it. Don't be precious with your, your content. Just put it out there and see what happens. See where it lands.
Say one thing, because I did just do a podcast with Ellen Becker Investment Firm, and we were talking about investments and savings and everything. And it's going to be released soon. So if everyone follow me, please, I will give me y'all critique on that podcast, because then I'm gonna be better for Cream City.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. We got some love notes in the chat. People really enjoying the information, the motivation. Michaela said, I am motivated to just start.
Yes.
Just start. Get your thoughts together and just start. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for
That's awesome.
agreeing to do this. And now we all know a little bit more. We know more questions to ask, more things to search, and more people that we can connect with to put our own content out there. So
yes, please do.
Well done, panel.
Thank you, Corey Joe. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Great to
you
meet
for
you
having
all.
us. Yeah.
Everybody.